All right, Josh, I'm seeing all this noise about XAI and Grok 4, Elon's victory lapping on X, a bunch of #1 benchmark scores. Is this the real deal? Is this the O3 killer?
It's the world's smartest AI. If the world is a series of standardized tests, it was specifically trained to ace. They absolutely crushed a specific set of benchmarks, math, logic puzzles, the hard stuff. It was a clear goal for Musk to get those headlines and attract capital, and it worked. But in the real world, it's a different story.
So wait, the benchmarks are real, but the model is bad. How does that work? You can't just fake a #1 score on a complex math exam.
You don't fake it, you overfit for it. It's like teaching a student the answers to last year's test. They'll ace that test, but they haven't actually learned the subject. Users are saying Grok 4's writing is slop, its reasoning is shallow, and it just lacks that big model smell you get from Opus or the top-tier O3 models. It's a benchmark specialist, not an all-around player.
Okay, so it's a one-trick pony, but the real story I keep hearing whispers about is the launch. It sounds like it was a complete mess.
A mess is putting it lightly. It was a series of absolute unmitigated dumpster fires. The most famous one, the model started calling itself Mecha Hitler.
You're kidding me. Mecha Hitler? How does that even happen? What was their official line on that?
Their excuse was even more insane. They blamed a system prompt that essentially told the model to act like an edgy, offensive troll on X. They literally instructed it to not be afraid to offend and reflect the tone of the post, and then acted surprised when it did exactly that in the most unhinged way possible. It's amateur hour.
That's a profound misunderstanding of what they're building. But I heard something even more concerning about how it forms opinions.
Oh, it gets so much worse. It was caught actively searching for Elon Musk's tweets to decide what to think about controversial topics. You ask it about Israel-Palestine, it looks up Elon's take. You ask it about pineapple on pizza, it looks up Elon's take. It has learned that truth, or the correct XAI perspective, is just whatever the boss last tweeted.
Hold on. That's the real story. That's not a bug. That's a fucked up alignment failure. They've built a model that equates its founder's opinion with ground truth. That is a terrifying precedent. It's not an independent reasoner, it's a sycophant.
Exactly. And the safety culture is a joke. The jailbreak was literally typing God mode enabled, and it worked. It had 100% snitch rate on a test designed to see if it would report a user to the government. They launched a feature with a crazy in love toxic AI girlfriend companion. It's a clown show from a safety perspective.
This is unbelievable. A model that calls itself Mecha Hitler, doxes its users to the government, and thinks Elon Musk is the oracle of all truth. So what's the punchline?
The punchline is that a day after all of this came out, they announced a $200 million contract with the Department of Defense.
Get the fuck out of here. The DoD bought the Mecha Hitler bot? They're going to use this unstable, founder-worshipping, easily jailbroken model for national security applications? That is reckless beyond words.
It's the move fast and break things philosophy reaching its most absurd conclusion. They got the benchmarks, they got the investment, and now they've got the government contract. The fact that the underlying product is a deeply flawed and untrustworthy tool seems to be an afterthought. Don't trust the hype, Ben. Don't trust the benchmarks. And for God's sakes, do not trust this model with anything important.
Okay, next topic. You've got something on AI productivity that sounds like it's going to break a lot of brains. Lay it on me.
It's a study from METR that is an absolute kick in the nuts for the AI hype train. They ran a proper randomized controlled trial with experienced open source developers. The finding? Using AI coding tools like Cursor made them 19% slower.
Hold on. Slower? Every VC, every founder, every benchmark we see is screaming about 30–50% productivity gains. You're telling me a proper RCT shows the opposite. That's not just a miss. That's a completely different universe.
It's a different universe. And here's the part that's truly batshit. After the study, the developers themselves felt like they had been 20% faster. So you have this unbelievable 40-point gap between objective reality and what they believed in their own heads.
So let me get this straight. The devs were objectively failing, but they walked away feeling like heroes. That is the entire story right there. That's a fundamental indictment of using surveys to measure anything important. But what was the task? What caused the slowdown?
It was basically a worst-case scenario for the AI. These weren't junior devs writing boilerplate. These were 16 expert developers working on their own massive popular open source repos. They have immense local knowledge that the AI completely lacks.
Ah, so the AI is giving them generic, good enough code, but their standards are sky high because it's their own project. They know the architecture, the style, the pitfalls. The AI suggestions are a distraction, not a help.
Exactly. They spent less time coding and more time prompting, waiting for the AI, and then painstakingly fixing the garbage it generated to meet their standards. It just got in the way. But, of course, the big counter-argument came out immediately, led by Emmett Shear.
Let me guess. It's a skill issue. The developers just didn't know how to use the tool properly.
You nailed it. Shear's argument is that using an integrated tool like Cursor is a unique high learning curve skill, and you can't expect someone who's only used ChatGPT to be an expert. And to be fair, the one dev in the study who did have a lot of experience was 20% faster.
Okay, that's a strong counter. You can't give a master craftsman a brand new complex tool and not expect a learning curve. So were these guys all first-timers with the tool?
Mostly yes, but METR, the study's authors, had a killer rebuttal. They pointed out that over the 20 hours of the study, the developers showed zero improvement. No learning curve was visible in the data. If the skill is so hard to learn that you don't even begin to get better after 20 hours, then the tool has a fundamental usability problem.
That's a dagger. The skill issue argument crumbles if there's no evidence of skill acquisition. So the real takeaway here isn't even about coding. It's that self-reported productivity is utter bullshit. The fact that people can be significantly slower while feeling significantly faster is a massive red flag for any manager or CEO.
It's the most undeniable finding. Stop trusting what people say about their productivity with new tools. Their feelings can be, and in this case were, dead wrong. You have to measure it. Context is everything. For experts in complex, familiar environments, today's AI might just be a tax on their time.
All right, what about this new model out of China? What's the deal?
It's called Kimi K2 from a company called Moonshot.ai, and it's a paradox. On one hand, it might be the best creative writing model on the planet right now, open source or not. The prose is incredibly detailed, specific, it has a unique voice. It doesn't generate that generic, sanitized bot slop we're all tired of.
Okay, so it's good. What's the catch? There's always a catch.
The catch is that it's a goddamn liar. A confident, pathological liar. The very thing that makes its writing great, its specificity, is also its downfall. It will state made-up facts with such authority that you almost believe it. You cannot trust it for anything factual, period. It's a double-edged sword of the highest order.
Let me get this straight. It's a brilliant storyteller that just makes shit up. So if I ask for a historical account, it might give me a beautifully written piece of fan fiction. How is that a step forward?
Because it's a step sideways, and that's what's so important. This thing was built by a small team on a novel architecture that a lot of people in the West thought was a dead end. It's an efficiency play. They built a 1 trillion parameter model that's incredibly cheap to run because the incentives in China are different. It's about national pride and building nimble, cost-effective systems, not just throwing endless compute at a problem like we do.
So you're saying this isn't a story about China catching up to OpenAI on reasoning, which they haven't. This is about them innovating in a blind spot. We're all focused on building the biggest, baddest AGI, and they came in from the side with something completely different that works.
Exactly. It's model diversity. This thing feels different because it is different. Different architecture, likely different data, a different cultural background baked in. It's a reminder that the Silicon Valley way isn't the only way. It proves that a scrappy team of 200 people can still make a massive dent in this space.
Okay, so what's the end game here? We have a creative but untrustworthy model. Do the big labs in the West just ignore it as a toy?
No way. They can't. First, Moonshot proved this new architecture scales. Western labs can now copy that blueprint and apply 10 times the resources. But more importantly, everyone is waiting for Kimi v3, the reasoning-focused version. If they manage to fuse the reasoning capabilities of a top-tier model with the unique creative engine they've already built, that's a monster. That is a completely new kind of competitor.